We are live.
Woohoo! Welcome. Welcome to Practical AI. What is it today? Number 5?
Episode number 5.
Yeah. Today we've got a bunch of treats for you. I scattered the web all week. Lots of different newsletters, lots of different YouTube channels that are covering Practical AI. And this is the place to be today to know what's the latest, what's the greatest. The best case scenario, you create something amazing after listening to all of this. The worst case scenario, you'll be the most interesting person at a dinner conversation this weekend. So either way, you are winning and welcome.
Today's show, we're bringing you news from the edge. So the theme has been that there's always a theme that emerges for each show that we do. And we don't know what it's going to be going in. It's just like an emergent sort of thing. And this week's theme is all about the edge. So we're going to be talking about that. What the heck is edge AI and what does it mean for you? We are going to cover that today. You're going to be that much smarter by the end of this thing. Let's kick it off.
All right, let's kick this off. So the first topic on deck is we'll be talking about Qwen's, which is Alibaba's, I guess, version of, I don't know, Claude. How would you describe it?
It's their chatbot.
Right.
But this one has a focus on generating web development prompts, or
yes,
like allowing you to leverage web development prompts.
And of course, as a linguist, I had to learn what Qwen actually means. And what this means is answer to 1,000 questions. So that's kind of the their version of that. So what is that? It is basically this update from this week. They're changing. Do you want to describe what they've done, kind of what that means for developers?
So it's really a developer-specific sort of prompt, as far as I can tell. And it is allowing users to generate production-ready, single-file React or HTML outputs using prevailing tools like Tailwind CSS, Framer, Recharts, all stuff like that from natural language prompts. What's interesting, though, is that the output, so you could take the output and put it on a server and run it. But with Qwen, you don't need to. It will run right there natively in their chatbot. So it's instantly runnable. So you generate it and then you can run it. We actually showed some examples of this 2 weeks ago with the ChatGPT 5 update, or we pointed to a video where they went over this stuff. So like you can run like, for example, a Photoshop that you just roll up. You can run that right in the browser right away. You can do this. That's with Canvas on GPT-5. But Alibaba's Qwen has a native feature where you just run the output that it generates, sort of like a coding sandbox.
Yep.
And there's no setup, no dependencies, which is really, really nice. So like that breaks down another technical barrier that would normally be in the way.
So why should developers and agencies care? Save hours on prototyping and MVPs, get leaner code than WP. No plugins, no coding, and aligns with kind of our patternized AI first build philosophy. And so we sort of did comparison to Canvas, OpenAI, and artifacts on Claude. And the biggest kind of difference there is Qwen is open source when Canvas and artifacts are obviously not. So what do you think about that? Does it matter? Obviously, there's a big con to that, right? Which is that they're not US-based company.
Yeah, it's Chinese.
Right. Obviously, there's going to be some regulations and other things. But like, what do you think about, like, just when we think the AI race is kind of like there's players that then there's another player come up. So what are the implications and all of that? And like, does it even matter? And like, what do we?
I mean, this feels like an agency specific product to me, or if not an agency, then teams within big companies that do little design and development work. And you know, it makes sense from the standpoint of just rapid prototyping to flesh out an idea, say, hey, we got this idea for this thing, can we mock up a UI, you know, show us some things. Good for presentations, good for proof of concept, that kind of thing. And I think we've seen a lot of this. Like a lot of the AI stuff that's been useful to this point has been more on the proof of concept side than the production side.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like more of that. You know, as we get deeper into the show, I kind of feel like what's really the value of showing some web app like stuff, like just prototyping. Like I don't know. It seems to have limited value.
I think the thing there is that you literally, what do they say? You just prompt and the website is kind of ready or whatever. The prototype is ready. So to me, I was like, because I was a little skeptical about it, and I was like, is this really as easy, as it is? But it's just a start, right? It's not the whole journey. So it's sort of like, how does it look? What does it look like? But what do you really do with that? Is this is it relevant or not relevant? That's, again, we wouldn't be doing a good job if we didn't bring it here, because clearly it's another player on the market. And I was just curious what you thought.
Well, I brought up a question in the previous show about or like a concept that's touching everything with AI, but the AIs can spit out some output, but you have to have somewhere contextual to put that output to make it like do something that's actually useful.
Oh,
Today's show pushes back on that. And as we go through, we'll see how it pushes back on that. And that a lot of stuff is going to be running natively in these LLMs, like in the chatbot interfaces themselves. And that's kind of what happens here. But what does it look like for us if we're getting our primary value out of the chatbots themselves, not needing to translate that into a context? Or how does this work? Is it even possible? We're going to explore that today, because I think that's super interesting. It's one thing to get the output. It's another to have it in a form where it's like actually useful. So that is really the question.
But how does it deploy? I guess the question is like, how does it deploy it? So, okay, you have it, but then don't you still have to host it somewhere? Or is it talking about it's completely bypass? Like, I'm still confused. What does it do with hosting part?
Right. What does this look like? So to me, one way this could work is that if you build some little thing in Qwen, you can have that added to users' environments who also use Qwen, so they could do the little drop-down menu and say, use my little bot here, and it performs some function.
Okay.
It could work that way, but that's like a really centralized way of doing it. It exists in Qwen. Users have to go to Qwen. They can have this in their active environment. They can use this to generate some output that's useful to them. But again, this is a centralized arrangement, and we're going to explore this later in the episode as well.
And even though it is open source, anybody who's using that, they still have to worry about regulations and other pieces of things.
This is too far in the weeds for right now. We're not going to explore this too much deeper, but I have this question. I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm like, does licensing even matter anymore?
What do you think?
Is it relevant? I mean, if we don't live in a distributed software landscape where everything's going through these AIs, it's sort of like a train station through which everything must pass. Does this end user licensing stuff matter, or is it changing? I think it has to change, or our perceptions have to change in some way.
Would you use it yourself?
Maybe for prototyping, but I don't really see a whole lot of need for that. We're going to get into some stuff that I will be using later in the show.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like I said, I feel like it has a much higher use for teams and agencies where you need to prove something to higher ups or whatever to get a go ahead on a project. Like that seems like the best use case for this stuff.
Well, I'm curious what the bloat is going to be on that, like, and how kind of, what would that look like? I would just like exchanging the plugin bloat for AI bloat. Is this like, what kind of coding is it going to be? Is it going to be high quality? Like, what is that going to be like?
Yeah. We're exchanging one set of problems for another, but I think getting away from the old stuff feels like a win no matter what we do.
All right, moving on. Any takeaway from this?
Nah, not really. It's just interesting to see what is emerging. And like, this is a specific use case for AI, right? It's not a generalized bot. This is specifically for like development style prototyping. And that's what they're touting. That's what they're pushing. They're marketing that angle of this. I think that's relevant. So this follows a larger theme that I want to make sure the audience is aware of. And that is specialization of AI application. This is in the development field. We are going to see increasing specificity. There's that word again. If you've watched our other episodes, increasing specificity, like we're taking this AI laser beam and pointing it in specific directions and, shooting it out there to get very specific outcomes in specific industries or, applications, that kind of thing. So expect to see more of that. This is another example of that. And this is just going to continue. But I think the way this actually works is not quite captured yet, but we're kind
All
of
right.
reveal
Again,
this as the show
every
goes on.
week there's a new horse that comes up. And so I thought Alibaba wasn't it sort of kind of like, and maybe I'm butchering it. Is it like Google there, or is it more like Amazon in China?
I think it's more like Amazon. It's a big marketplace.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Just wanted to make sure. Because I
Well,
know
they have AliExpress, which is like, buy anything you want.
right. Amazon, it's like Amazon would come up with their own, like, which I think Amazon did come up with something that we discussed 3 weeks ago or something like that. All right, moving on. Next thing is a little wild and crazy, but we had to talk about it because Elon Musk tweeted this tweet about their XAI's Edge AI vision. And basically what he's talking about is that, which is really wild, he claims that XAI wants to bypass operating systems and even apps by running AI directly on your phone or laptop as an edge device. Imagine your device not opening an app, but the AI itself generating pixels and audio in real time. No app store, no plugins, no WordPress site, just the model.
All right. We got to unpack this real quick.
Yeah, tell me,
unpack this.
like, what does it all mean? Yeah.
That's a lot. So his actual tweet was, he says, it's an easy prediction of where things are headed. Devices will just be edge nodes for AI inference as bandwidth limitations prevent everything from being done server side. So what is Edge AI? Edge AI is the movement of the computing power from these centralized data centers out to your devices, to like your phones. The phones are doing the computation, not some big data center. This is possible because of advances in chip design and all that stuff. This is interesting to me because the hardware trend has been that, like, okay, well, we keep increasing computing power. Now we're going to get these big data centers that are dedicated to AI computation. But they have to design these data centers with many, many millions of simultaneous calculations in mind. That changes the parameters. But if we realize that, you, Olga, are going to do a certain number of computations that's much, much lower, it's possible to have a chip on your local device that can handle all this. Like, you don't really need that much computational power. And it really solves the problem because, grid computing is much more complicated than in one node computing. So the chip advancement is going to make it realistic for us to have our own computational power in the palm of our hand. And so it makes sense that a lot of AI stuff that's relevant to each human is going to happen just in the palm of your hand. Now, he says they want to run AI directly on your phone as an edge device, and your device doesn't open an app, but the AI itself generates pixels and audio in real time. What he's saying is there's not an app for that. The app is going to be rolled up in response to your query. Extremely high specificity. The apps that we use today are designed to, like, okay, this one's for disc golf. Anyone who does disc golf is going to like this set of features. But again, not everyone uses the entire suite of features. And maybe you want some stuff that the app doesn't offer. So you would prefer to roll your own. This is what's going to happen. The apps are going to be generated in real time based on your prompts. It's not really apps. It's just the interfaces and stuff and data and information that you want is going to be able to be rolled up in a package that's made just for you. And it's just going to be done on the fly. It's not like you're going to open, I don't know, what would be a good example of an app like this? Like Venmo is not a good one because that's like running money through a system. But, you can imagine some of the stuff that you use, like a note-taking app. Like, there's really no reason for this.
Well, okay, so if that happens, right, it could disrupt what McKinsey has called 1.5 trillion app economy by 2030. And it's not pure fantasy. MIT studies show that Edge AI can actually be 50% more energy efficient than cloud inference through real-time rendering at scale is still very speculative. So I don't know if 2030 is like, I kind of ran some kind of simulations. They say, feasibility 1 to 3 years, it's early prototypes, 5 to 10 years, hybrid systems, and then 10 plus years, speculative but possible. Apps disappear, replaced by AI-driven interfaces. When I see crazy things like that, like, because I will obviously kind of stop me in my tracks, and I have a lot of respect for Elon. You can love him or hate him, but clearly he's doing some crazy things out there. When it comes to the future, I think I told you the story the other day I met Futurist about 20 years ago when I first came to the States. And when he was kind of sharing with me, like, he was working on Ford car prototype. And back then in 2004, they had like red arrows on the mirrors, flashing, like to tell you if the car is changing the lane, it's going to be dangerous or not. And I remember that was 20 years ago thinking, that is crazy. How would it know? Well, now we have self-driving cars and things are beeping at you all around. But 20 years ago, the futurists already were thinking about how to make this happen. And so when I asked him, like, what's the secret to creating future? He said, you never create the future by looking directly at the thing that you're creating. You're looking at the whole set of things that are touching it. And I'm like, so when I'm seeing Elon talking about it, part of me goes, but what if it is real? Right? Like, what if he's creating the future? What would happen? And so that's why I wanted to sort of like dream about it, because if that's the reality, what does it even mean for web? I don't know. Like, that's crazy.
It's this movement towards super specific, high specificity. We've been operating in a low specificity environment. We're heading towards high specificity.
But how do you even build for that? Like, that's the question. Like, how do you build for that?
Well, we'll get into that. But the whole like, McKinsey's prediction about a $1.5 trillion app economy by 2030, there's no way that the app economy continues on the positive trajectory that we have seen since 2008. No. There's no way. The reason why there's no way.
My apps, like, please.
The reason why is, you look at any iPhone power user and they got 7 pages of apps. You can't keep track of all that crap. You ain't using all that. You're not. So you got that. So it's like the subscription fatigue thing. It's like, we have these 28 active subscriptions to software and streaming services and all this other crap. Like, who can keep up? At the end of the day, you're kind of just tired of it all and just want to hit cancel on everything. So if AI offers this ability to roll up something exactly when you need it that suits your exact needs, that's clearly going to beat out this, just have this app in case you need it. Just download another thing. Just have another freaking login. Like, this is the frictional difference is so easy to see. And like, it's clearly going to move in this direction of the specific rollouts from AI. There's no stopping that train. Apps are on notice.
Do you see the visual of what that looks like?
Do I have a visual?
Yeah. Like, what do you think that looks like visually?
So I think you'll open your phone, you'll do a voice prompt, you'll say, hey, I need this right now. And it will give you basically what you need. What you get could be sort of an amalgam where it combines things like, okay, you're going to use, you're going to put in this information, it's going to tell you your train schedule, and it's going to figure out how you're going to take the trains you need to get through New York to get to this place you're going to. Here's a link. You're going to have to buy tickets before you get to this place that you're going to, because they're not going to just let you in. The lines are going to be long, so you need to purchase ahead. Here's the link for that. And it's going to give you a stepwise thing, like do this, this, and this. Whereas you might have previously, had to download like the Long Island Railroad app or something to figure out your train schedule. You go to like whatever museum you're going to, maybe you need an app or some goofy thing to go get your tickets. You have to go through this long-winded process. Like, it's all just serving it up exactly what you need to get through your.
What would we still develop then? Like, what would web developers build in that situation?
This is a good question. I think we're going to delve into this more specifically later. I'm not 100% clear, because like the information that AI is going to be using has to come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be published in some way.
Right.
And the real question for the future, which I think I understand how it's going to work, but the real question for the future is, if people are producing all this information, but AIs are the ones using the information, AI and the end users, they're having the exchange where that information is actually being used. What's the benefit to the people that generate the information? I mean, unless I'm like a museum that's generating the data that the AI is using for people to buy tickets, like I can see the direct benefit there. I run the museum. But like, if you're like an affiliate type person, what does that mean? Like, you're kind of just a middleman and looks like you're getting cut out.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of questions like that. It's not just that narrow scope. Like, there's a lot more than that. If you're just producing generalized information in the internet that's being used by these AIs, but you have no way to monetize it, what does that look like? I think that this movement towards specificity is going to create a situation where we know the price of every action.
Mm-hmm.
The way things are currently priced, it's not price per action. It's like price per product, price per entry, price. It's a gross pricing model. It attempts to capture this, but it doesn't exactly fit the buyer, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have a price per action, we will know the price or the cost of every action upstream and downstream. We'll know that AI, if there's a hot query, the AIs will know that it costs this much money to set this up. We'll kind of know that the beneficiaries of the eventual thing that gets paid for cost this much. And we'll be able to say, oh, well, the genesis of this information, which the AI used, actually gets, 2.5 cents per access during these peak times or whatever it is. And that value is going to change in real time. So it's almost like an auction system for every action that takes place. So I do think content creators will eventually be getting paid microtransactions for every time that their content gets used. I think there will be a demand for this. It will not be like that initially. The AIs will have all the power, but there's going to be a ton of demand and firewalling set up, like the Cloudflare thing from last week, where Cloudflare says, well, we're going to block the AI engines from accessing this. And what they'll do is eventually institute a toll.
Right.
And this toll will be that upstream, downstream pricing model, price per action that I have suggested.
Fascinating. So they're talking about that it's not just technical, it's a control shift from developers and I guess to AI vendors, whatever that's going to be called. So do you see how developer could evolve into being sort of the AI vendor, or would that be more decentralized or centralized with all these big AI companies that are emerging right now?
So we have tools like Photoshop that we have relied upon. They are specific tools. I have mentioned before how the job of developers, human developers, now and in the future, is to build highways and road systems that AI can use to do a better job. Tools like Photoshop represent like a single stop on the highway. They are not the highways themselves. Anything that is a single stop, like a rest stop, is dead. It's totally dead. But the highways still have to be built. The highways, to go back to another term I've used, the highways provide the context for the AI to actually, okay, here's the information. Now, how's it useful?
Yeah.
Highways still have to be built. So that is the job of developers. If you are not shifting to a highway type focus, you're kind of operating in the past, in a past paradigm that is dying quickly.
Yeah.
And there's really no way around that. It's shift or die, adapt or die. This has kind of always been the case, but now it's really apparent.
Well, and this is why I really wanted to shine the light on this, because clearly, I mean, this post had millions and millions of views, and I'm thinking, like, it's a long-term vision, clearly, but at the same time, like, there's all these different things that you already have talked about, the highways, the big refactoring. There's all these things happening that are sort of preparing this for this, because there's so many pointers that are pointing that whatever worked in the past is just not going to work in the future. So I just want us to start thinking bigger and thinking like what, like with PageMotor or with other things that are happening. What are we going to do with all of that to prepare? Because those who prepare, they're going to win. And those who are still trying to build on top of things, they're going to be in for a big awakening.
It's facts. Let's talk about timelines real quick. Just quick mention. So I mean, this is a guess, and this is not my guess. I'm going to push back on this, but like for the next 1 to 3 years, we're going to see some early prototypes of this edge AI use cases. In 5 to 10 years, we're talking about hybrid systems where like you've got a little operating system on your phone that has agentic AIs in there performing tasks for you. That's going to be possible with some chip advancements, which we'll get into that is coming. And then in 10 years, that apps are totally gone, replaced by AI-driven interfaces. I think that's going to happen faster than that. I'd be surprised if it's 5 years.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Anyway, I listen. I'm all for apps. App Store's got to go. I mean, it's
a bad model, and everyone hates the way Apple does the pricing and access.
They're literally the middleman. Like, how much money do they charge to be there? Like 30%.
30%. No, it's a huge haircut.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, moving on. Do you have any takeaway from this segment? Like,
no, we got more to build on this.
All right. Next, moving on. So, big news from this week was about Nvidia, and which I didn't even, kind of know this, but Nvidia isn't just making chips, it's shaping the rails for a $4 trillion AI economy. So if you're a developer and agency creator, the bets that just placed will redefine how you build and ship online. So what's the story? So for this third quarter, they posted $46.7 billion in revenue. Crazy. I mean, that's like, I didn't even know that's how much money they're making. Next quarter, they're projecting 54 billion. Obviously projected on paper. That's crazy. But here's the twist. Their stock dropped because shipments of the H20 chips or H2O, how do you pronounce it? H2O?
I'm not sure. I don't keep up with the chips.
Chips into China got blocked. And that's a $2 to $5 billion hit. So their CEO called China the world's second largest computing market and reminded us that it's home to 50% of AI researchers worldwide. That's not just a supply chain problem. That's a split in the global innovation engine. So if half of the world's AI researchers are cut off from the most advanced hardware, does that fracture the AI landscape or does it fuel alternative ecosystems? So there's a lot to talk about, but what are your thoughts about that? About this kind of news?
First of all, the first thing I got to do is spicy pushback here. I
Go.
mean, the trend of the last 30, 40 years is that China is not good at innovation. China is not good at innovation. They are good at copying and rolling things out scale. They are not good at innovation. This is not a shot. It's just this is the results that we've seen so far.
Even with AI though, come on. I mean,
yeah, especially with that. I've not
right.
seen a single example. Pretty much all the amazing innovation comes out of the West. It's pretty much been confined to the U.S. and tech for a very long time now. And I think there's something to that. There's something to innovation is born of a mindset. And I think if you have a mindset that is more geared toward freedom and expression, which has not really been the case in China historically, I think innovation is a natural fallout. Innovation and creativity stem from that kind of mindset. You're free. You're free to think. Chinese society has not really been that way. So even if there's however many billion Chinese people, the percentage of them that actually have that mindset is much lower and results in a gross number that is much smaller than the amount of people that are like that in the West.
Okay.
It's just the way it is. So, as far as 50% of AI researchers worldwide, I'm like chopping that number at 5%.
Yeah, but we're still blocking them from this superior kind of hardware. So that's
here's the deal. So all it is pressure. There's a quote in Jurassic Park where the guy says, "Life finds a way."
Okay.
You can close off one valve, but like the water is going to find a way around it and it's going to get around. So life will find a way. I don't really worry about that too much. I see all these as like little obstacles in the road, but like they don't stop the vehicle from moving.
Well, so here's where the cool things they're happening. So this is just the money kind of problems or what are they called, the supply demand kind of thing. And so rather than getting disappointed, they are doubling down. They're projecting 3 to 4 trillion in AI infrastructure spending by 2030, and they're betting on 2 products. And this is what I didn't really realize: one for the edge, which we talked about, and one for the data center. So the first product, called Jetson AGX Thor.
We'll call it Thor.
I will remember Thor. Everybody will. So Thor is NVIDIA's new edge AI robot brain. It's 7.5 times more powerful than the last model, and they're already used by 2 million developers. The key, edge AI. Thor makes it possible to run server-class intelligence directly on the device, which we literally just talked about, what Elon was talking about. That means personalization engines, chatbots, even analytics could run on your site locally without cloud latency. So if AI runs locally on every site, what happens to the entire SaaS plugin economy? And do developers start building edge native plugins instead of cloud services? So what? Let's talk about Thor.
Well, so everyone who's deeply involved in AI understands that a choke point is emerging, and we got to get around it somehow. That choke point is cloud computing. If everybody's accessing the same data center, it really doesn't matter how big that data center is. It's still getting clogged up by a lot of traffic. So the solution clearly is to have as many powerful computing nodes out there as possible. Data centers centralized, computing nodes are distributed. This is so interesting. So they have 2 products now. Thor is for the node case, And
Well, I didn't talk about the second one yet. I just
we haven't talked about it, but their Rubin super chip is for the data center stuff. There's still going to be data center AI stuff. That's not going to stop because they can do some really sophisticated processing and things that are going to be, you can go farther faster on that. You can prove concepts and then you trickle that down to the edge devices, based on what they can actually do. So it makes sense to play both sides of that equation. But the fact that they're putting this big bet into the edge, what it says is we're going to have massively enhanced computing power in our hands within a few years. There's going to be a new line of phones that ships with these new chips that blows away everything else that's ever been done. It's going to have you can have all your assistants for life in your hand. And what's going to be happening is going to be tremendous.
So
what you're going to be able to do.
So product number 2, which is Rubin super chip, we're going to call it Rubin. So there's Thor and Rubin. So Rubin is successor of Blackwell, which I didn't know what Blackwell was, but and it's arriving around 2026, 2027, so next year sometime. It's built on a 3nm process with HBM4 memory, targeting 50 to 100 petaflops of compute. I had no idea what petaflop was. Do you know what that is? I had to look it up. Okay, well, so in short, for those of you who are like me, who have no idea what that is, petaflop. So 50 to 100 petaflops is a massive amount of computing muscle. Think of it as a digital brain capable of quadrillions of math problems per second, enough to power cutting-edge AI applications or a small army of smart devices working together. I've never heard of petaflop, but I like the name. So Rubin is built for training the next generation of giant models, assistants, co-pilots, creative engines, and it locks in Nvidia's dominance at the data center scale. So if Rubin powers AI models that are 10 times more capable, how do we rethink CMS tools today? And now we're preparing for that scale, or just patching WordPress workflows?
I think this is pretty interesting because we're going to see a big split, and it's going to become really clear the application of these different things. So we got the Thor Edge chip and the Rubin super chip. So we'll just call it Rubin's the data center and Thor's the edge. Most of what we use and that we find really beneficial is going to be edge stuff. What's the point of these super chips and these data centers? That is for stuff like military application. Really hardcore stuff where you're tying together a lot of complex systems. This is not for everybody. Not even like most industries that I can think of that we use or interface with daily don't need that at all. Don't need that. Most of the processes that we deal with in life are pretty simple comparatively and do not need this crazy amount of computing power. This is for big time applications, huge businesses.
So Thor is like B2C, like consumer product, and I guess Rubin is more of like a big B2B corporate.
Edge is B2C. You could think of it that way, and I think the the data center model is not even B2B. It's like creating the processes and tying everything together for businesses in general, for big businesses.
Okay.
Doing the serious, the heavy lifting. But we'll have a better understanding of that in the future. Like, oh, this is a local computational problem. This is a centralized computational problem. It's going to become a lot clearer as we see more applications of these things.
So they're no longer just building hardware, right? They're sort of redrawing the web stack, because if we have these two things that are coming out, and if AI shifts to the edge,
web stuff will be on the edge, by the way.
Right, right. So everything you're doing right now with PageMotor and what the guys are doing in the beta forum, like everything you're doing is sort of preparing for that world that is happening, right? With AI native,
well, so again, the trend is moving towards highly specific outcomes that exactly match what people want.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about that is not that every developer needs to go out and build highly idiosyncratic software. That is no longer the job of the developer. Highways are not super specific. You have addresses along the roads. Those are very specific, but the developers have to build the highways. So the software that powers this generation of AI tools or AI output has to be generalized. not specific.
Mhm.
And the benefit of that is that it will be able to be adapted to very specific outcomes. Like you could take a base PageMotor, use AI to roll up all the feature sets that you need for real estate, which we'll talk about this in a moment, and then deploy that in the real estate vertical. You could do the same thing for salons or any application you can think of. It will still be using PageMotor as the backbone, but the highly specialized output comes in when the AIs come in, add the plugins and stuff that are needed, that add the processes and the workflows for this specific industry, and then boom, that is what gets sent to the end user. So it's not a specific piece of software; it's a generalized piece of software that can be, configured and then pointed in a specific direction. And there really is no limit to the directions in which the industry directions in which PageMotor, for example, could be directed.
I just love the way your brain works and thinks. I'm reading that. I'm like, I cannot wait to hear what Chris has to say about this. But okay, so is there anything else? Like, why should developers and agencies care? Thor means CMS plugins that live on device, fast, private, and edge native. So is there anything you want to kind of talk about?
Developers need to be aware that they should be working on highways. Well, you get two choices. You can become a highway builder, which is a pretty high-level conceptual task.
Which is what you're doing, right? Right now.
You can be a prompt engineer, it's like a construction worker. Like you put the buildings together, the blueprints and the materials are all there, but you still got to assemble them. And there's going to be a huge market for that. So like the person, this is a great thing and actually a really high dollar value application. You could take a base like PageMotor and say, okay, I'm going to adapt this for use in specific industries. I'm going to do law firms. I'm going to do doctor's offices. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. So for me, I see actually a big part of my future being involved in something I'm calling PageMotor Industries, which is industry-specific adaptations of the PageMotor platform. I'm taking this gun, I'm pointing it in specific directions and firing. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of obvious usefulness. We know that the great refactoring has to happen. We know all our existing systems stink. So we need to take something that's new age capable.
Yep.
And start deploying it in all these different vectors.
Well said. Love that. The highways or the construction, like that's beautiful, because there's gonna be point for everything, right? Because there's going to be people who have to solve problems, because people will always have problems. That's what we're good at, is creating more problems.
Getting to idiosyncratic outcomes requires a ton of people stepping in and solving very specific problems. So like, I don't want to undersell that. I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, AI is going to take care of that. Like, no, humans are going to be like identifying and pointing. There's going to be a lot of that.
Right. AI is just really superpower, but you still need to know what to do with that superpower. Yeah. Critical thinking is going to be number one thing that you got to be aware of and like develop.
Connecting the dots is pretty difficult.
Yeah. That's going to be the biggest focus in education right now. That is critical thinking and how do you connect the dots, and emotional intelligence. But those are the two that I'm very passionate about. So moving on. This is a fun segment. And so now you have, because I told you that yesterday, I think, but have you heard of Nano-Banana? I mean, it's a mysterious AI image model that popped up in online benchmark battles this past week. There's no docs, no branding, just outputs that absolutely crush stable diffusion and flux, which I have no idea what that
emojis. That's all we saw.
We're talking consistent characters, multi-angle edits, and near real-time rendering. So the ghost model was first reported in the AI secret newsletter. That's where I first saw it. And the twist, Google engineers started dropping banana emojis on Twitter, confirming that many suspected this is no mystery model at all. It's Gemini 2.5 Flash image. And that was just Google's stealth upgrade to its image generation stack. I was like, oh my God, another image generation. Give me a break. And then I started playing with it. And do you want to say anything about that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. So issues with real-time image generation. It's been slow. It's been wonky. You get people with 6 fingers and all these other oddities. There's been various things that have been, errors that have been smoothed out through the releases of these different things. And what makes Nano-Banana, which is really Google Flash 2.5. And if you go search for Nano-Banana, you'll get sent to a website that's trying to copycat and piggyback off this and get you to spend money. So don't go to that one. You got to go to like Google AI Studio to play with this. I'm going to pull this up in just a moment.
It's aistudio.google.com.
Yeah, I'm going to pull this up in a second. But the bottom line is that this is an incredibly robust image generation package that you give it a prompt, it's actually like somewhere in the ballpark of what you actually wanted. Okay, and it's really able to do some amazing things. It really handles different angles well. It has shown not just promise, but like game-changing accuracy with stuff like product placements. Okay, so I have a friend who runs a big plant-based supplement company called Truvani. One of their biggest C-level initiatives has been to generate these really lively pictures of their product being in use. Like some girl will be making a smoothie and they got like berries exploding out of the smoothie, like these cool visuals. They put a lot into this. I mean, like a lot of executive focus, a lot of attention, a lot of money spent on these things. Like that has been a big focus. And you could play with Nano-Banana and bust out product things like that in seconds.
So
like massive implications. You can go do guerrilla marketing and have like murals painted on the side of famous buildings with your logo or whatever it is.
Yeah. So we are obviously like we follow the guy. I'm sure everybody knows him, Levels.io, and that's kind of where I started seeing sort of my imagination started going crazy because what he started sharing, he would take a map of like some old place, medieval place, and then it would render the picture that would actually look, like it's real. And so, Chris, a little bit further.
I can pull up your pictures real quick. Let's pull up yours since you're talking about it.
Yeah, and so, I was like, oh my God, I wonder what I can do. I'm from part of Russia that used to be Germany, and we had this island that was completely destroyed by the World War II. So this is the island, what it used to look like in 1905.
Cool orthogonal view there. That's sick.
Yeah, and I was like, I basically did the prompt. Show me how this map of Nepov Island. You took my prompt.
Oh, my bad.
But it's in my tweet. So I gave the prompt. Looks like POV when I'm standing there in between buildings as a person.
Yeah, so it shows the orthogonal view, and then here's the street level view.
And it gave me goosebumps because I've walked those paths there many times because it's not as destroyed, it's just a park. But seeing that, like, it still gives me goosebumps. And I'm like, way to experience, like, can you imagine what it can do now for things that, Atlantis or this or that, like we could only imagine, but now we can actually like experience it as the point of view being in that place. And this
that gray Baltic fog, I'm totally sold.
No time to get this done. So that's kind of, I was like, this is not your typical image generator. This is very smart. And then they had this other one. There's a ton of people are playing with all kinds of different ideas. They're taking like plans of apartments or buildings or houses and asking to generate what it looks like real life. Or you go anywhere on the map and asking, show me what that looks like. So think about what it would do to, I don't know, kids like exploring things without traveling. And to me, the juices started flowing and I felt like a little girl yesterday playing with all of this. But you want to show what you've done?
Yeah, let me see. Is it, I'll share this tab. So I asked Google AI Studio, I gave it my PageMotor logo. I said, all right, place this logo on a billboard in Times Square, but show me a pedestrian's view from the street level. And it comes back with this compelling image where the PageMotor logo, it's a little wonky, right? It's not perfect.
And I'm thinking, what just happened?
It's not too bad. Like, I like that I can kind of do that visual. That's pretty sweet.
Not register that. Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I need to see this on Shibuya Crossing in Tokyo.
Of course.
At golden hour.
We had to go to Japan.
But with some other like Japanese typical advertisements like Hello Kitty and stuff like this. So
we'll show that one.
Now it gives me this.
This is crazy. I love it.
So it also, so it did this, which is pretty cool. Like it's got the busyness of Shibuya Crossing, which is great. But then down here, it put PageMotor on the building.
Very subliminal.
I didn't ask it to do that. I was like, that's sick. I love it.
It's great advertising. And then I
Oh,
like
look, it's got PageMotor here on the right. I just noticed that. So apparently I bought all the buildings at Shibuya Crossing.
we own it now. It's a future to come. So
I did one more. I tried to go super specific to see how it could do, like with real world stuff that it should be able to know. And it's funny because it actually failed a little bit here. I said, all right, this time I want to see the PageMotor logo on the sail of a ship going through the Bosphorus Strait. I want to see a POV from the Asian side, looking back at the European side at the Golden Horn. We'd have Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace on the left, and the Galata Tower on the right. So that's super specific. And it gives me this image. So it does put a faux Galata Tower, not as tall as the real one on the right. Got Hagia Sophia on the left with some other mosques in the distance, which is sort of true, but not really. This is not accurate. There is no Golden Horn inlet. None of that is there, but it did do the PageMotor logo on the sail of an old-timey boat.
So
still pretty sweet.
So Ken is saying, he says, Nano-Banana is a game changer. I have used Photoshop for years, and this Gemini image editor is a real breakthrough. I love it. And I fell in love with it too. For now, I believe they give you 32,000 credits, tokens
per day
to play with. And I don't know if that's like how that's going to work. If you can buy more, I'm assuming you can. But to me, I was like, okay. So then I watched this this video on Greg Eisenberg's channel.
I linked this in the description. I put it. You can just go to the show notes and you can check that out. Definitely check this out after the show. I mean, you got to do it.
Yeah. And so this video was with Google's Logan Kilpatrick, and I guess he is the one who was in charge of the product. And it had 83,000 views in one day. And he did a live kind of demo of how to use this, AI Studio. And he shows how in seconds you can spin up subway ads, mural mockups, luxury magazine spreads, and even product placements and real world photos. And all with plain language prompts. It's about 4 cents per image. So basically free. At scale kind of thing. So why it matters? Why does it matter? So Photoshop cycles just became kind of obsolete. And the visuals are like that. So that's crazy. Product photo shoots cut by 30%, SKU swapped in realistic settings.
It's going to be so much more than that. Like it's over.
Scroll stopping assets in minutes, right? Like just like when Chris sent me that picture of Times Square or whatever, I was like, did somebody took our logo? I was like, what is happening? But then I was like, oh, he did that in the thing. So it made me think for a second, which I'm an easy prey, but whatever. And then so this points to a future where images in a CMS are as editable and dynamic as text. So what do you think about it? Is Photoshop really going to be irrelevant at this point, or
Photoshop is cooked? That's over.
Canva? Maybe.
But I don't care about that. I care about these like. I know because of my buddy how much energy gets put into like product photos and all that. Like you could go through, you could run the gamut. You could run like 6 campaigns in an hour if you got somebody just ripping these prompts. It costs you a few bucks. Like I'm sorry, it's over. In that video linked in the description, Logan shows Greg how he takes like a Google Pixel phone image, like a product image, and then makes it a mural on a building. Puts it in a subway, like live, real world advertisements. And then they go on to show some product placement type photos, such as like the thing where the girl's scooping the protein powder and there's berries blasting out of the smoothie cup and all this stuff. Like what?
I mean, I'm very curious. Let us know how you've played it or tag us or whatever.
So here's something that happens. They do these shoots to do product placements. It costs a bunch of money. You have to buy studio time and all that. And then you find out like, it would have been nice if the lighting was a little bit like this instead.
Yeah.
Or like a different color to give it like a different hue, like a purplish hue or whatever, something like this. You could just have the image generator do that in seconds now. There's no refactoring. Like it's removing a lot of stuff we try to do in the real world that is really cumbersome. So I have a personal example of this I always like to use. My dad used to build houses. And you go, you got nails and screws and you put a screw hole in the wall. Well, it's not easy to fix the damn screw hole in the wall. You got to plaster it, paint over it. Hopefully you got the right paint that's going to match and the hole doesn't look like anything in the future. Like that sucks. I always make fun of that. I'm like, I use the delete key.
Let's just say we
code.
don't
My
want
messages are
nails
cleaned
in
up
our-
in seconds.
in our
This is
home.
that to me,
Yeah.
but for images and product stuff. Like no more of this cumbersome old world task. Like I'm not fixing a nail hole ever again.
Yeah.
I'm fixing my images. Boom, it's already done. Incredible.
So would you think that will be kind of baked in the native AI image editing? So like whenever you're creating, I don't know.
Oof. I mean, that's all I'm thinking about today. I can't I need this in PageMotor yesterday. I want you to okay, this is something we used to do back in the blogging days. We'd have a blog, but we'd always create an image for that particular blog post to create what's called a squeeze at the top of the article to get people reading and get them engaged. Always great to have a squeeze image. It was a lot of work. I'd always have to, as part of the workflow, like this sucked. Got to go sit here and spend 45 minutes or more on a dang image for this post just because that's how we do it. And you can create dynamic stuff like that in no time now. How about this? I got to do, it's nice to generate a thumbnail for the videos. For all our videos, we got to have a thumbnail. A lot of energy's gone into that the last 12, 15 years. No question about it. Well, now it's pretty much instantaneous and you can generate I don't like that one. We'll try another one. Boom. It just took you a couple minutes and a few cents to do this. Another one is open graph images. I still deal with this. So now instead of having squeeze images on blog posts, if I publish something new and want to share it to the internet, I want that to show up in a nice open graph card is what it's called, but you have to provide that image on the source web page that you're linking. I had to spend a bunch of time creating these. Another thing that you do when you create these types of images, the thumbnails or the open graph images, is you want to have a theme, a consistent theme that you employ. You use Google AI Studio with your account. You can choose to save all this stuff to the cloud so you can develop your brand style, and then deploy it very quickly. I'm never doing it any other way again. I think I've made my last thumbnail, gang. I'm doing it this way now.
Clearly. No, this is, so then of course I had to take it and kind of what Levels.io. What's his name, by the way? Do we know his name?
I should know that. I don't.
Well, he goes by Levels.io. So he said, what did he say? He said, if you are not building a mini startup with Nano-Banana today and launching it tomorrow, you're missing the opportunity of a lifetime. This image model just made hundreds of new startups and apps possible. Only limit is your creativity and how fast you can ship a user interface and yada, yada. So of course I'm like, what kind of businesses can because we wouldn't have a good show today if we didn't talk about potential businesses.
Right. I love this guy too, because he's the king of this. New thing emerges. Let's jump on this right away and make money. He's really good at that.
But I mean, why not? If somebody is creative and they were well, creative people, this is a great opportunity to do something like that. So first was real estate virtual staging, which I guess it's going to make it super easy and super fast. I'm sure it's already easy and fast, but this is probably going to make it even faster.
Well, so think about this. You would have to spend some time. You might be able to, you can do stuff like this. You can pre-stage it. You can take pictures of the empty house that's all clean, and then you could put some modern furniture in it. But you would have to do all those assets up front, and then you could show a client. But what if they say, oh, I want it in a more country style or a rustic style? You want to be able to switch these things rapidly to different, show me, a West Elm interior version of this. It's a younger client.
Oh my God.
So you can then show exactly what you think that, here's your style. We're going to mix this up just for you. Even exterior treatments. This is the trend for this demographic. This is the trend for that one. Here's what you could do. Here's what the potential cost of this might be. Yeah. There's no reason this can't tie that together as well. Pretty interesting stuff.
The second one was fashion try-on app, which I think is pretty spot on. I mean, there have been a lot of players that are appearing, but I've yet to be as impressed as I was with Nano-Banana. And so I'm really curious to see what that's going to look like and trying different outfits. And I mean, if I were some kind of retailer or some kind of brand, I would be all over this right now.
If I just put the PageMotor logo in Turkey, Japan, and New York City, with zero effort. I mean, those are my first three prompts.
So I'm surprised you didn't do Red Square.
Is Nordstrom not going to be having dresses you can try on? You upload your little picture there and boom, 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 boom. You get to see it. You get to see it out in some nice restaurant. You get to see it out in some venue you're going to at some wedding party or something. Hello, this is happening.
today. I mean, literally, if I was into this is all I would work on right now, is like, how do I make this up? And then the e-commerce mock-up service. So I think this one is another one. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That feels like a stretch.
Oh,
That feels like a stretch. But I do think that if we confine that to branding assets, and we specifically define like what those are, you're going to get the whole suite. You can say, okay, here's my normal outfit. Like, here's all the stuff. I do a header image. I do an open graph framework. I do a YouTube thumbnail framework. Like, there's like 6, 7 different kinds of images or imagery you would deploy regularly. You could have this thing crank those out. Say, here's what I need every time. Generate this. Generate, here it. Show me that again, but with this color scheme as the basis. You could even change, like, use this font. So I think you could do that level of refinement. Now, branding assets, you'll be able to roll those out super quickly. Like, I'm actually going to play with that later today, see if I can get like a suite of my open graph images and YouTube things and get them all aligned.
Well, according to Grok, I ran like 10 different business ideas, and the Grok thought those are the 3 ones that could realistically hit like $1 million ARR in 18 months.
I mean, the staging is so huge.
Yeah. And I was like, interesting. Again, like if it's somebody out there who's really passionate about it, Google just handed you a very, very.
I mean, like IKEA is going to put this on their website. Upload the image of the room that you want to outfit, and we're going to stick a bunch of furniture in there, but different styles. Like, we'll remix it. Like, oh, you want this? Then here's the pieces we suggest.
I am excited to see what's going to happen.
It's happening.
We'll keep an eye on that. So to do anything you want to say about that, or?
Well, visuals are a specific thing, but they generate so much interest because it's like something you can see. Like, you get the gift right away. Like, you do the prompt, you have the thing, like, it's right there. It's instant gratification. So it makes sense that I think this is one of the things that's going to push along the furthest and be the most useful the most quickly. Mm-hmm. Because it's just that immediate gratification of imagery and the power of imagery. Like, there's so many times I've wanted to create a visual to help explain a difficult concept. And so far, AI has fallen totally on its face. But we are getting so much closer, so much faster to that reality where I'm going to be able to have some crazy concept and have this visual in my head, and I will be able to prompt a thing to be able to show you that and maybe even animate it or something to really explain these processes. Like, that is a huge tool for learning and understanding. Like, you see these jokes all the time, but like, memes contain way more information than, a 100-page book.
Yeah.
How is that possible? It's got all this subtext and all this other stuff going into there. This is the promise of that level of communication, which is so huge.
Well, one of the things that in terms of the e-commerce stuff that they talked about was visual commerce equals high SEO plus AI optimization synergy. So PageMotor can offer built-in SEO plus page speed edge that WordPress can't match. So you can just do like a mock-up page or a landing page, or like it's going to be optimized for all the things that you need to be optimized in the image.
I feel like it's not quite 100% relevant. I do think this is relevant, though. So we've talked about how content is becoming totally commoditized. AI is just going to be eating up any of the words you put on the internet, and it's going to be spitting them back out through their chatbots to the end users. What's the point of your content? But the visuals are something humans still want to see.
They're delightful.
The words are not. People don't care how the words get there, but the images, each image is unique. People still want that. Like, it's already been going this direction. Like, if you have a post that doesn't include an image, it's probably not going anywhere. We already know this. This is going to crank that up into overdrive, but there's still going to be demand, human demand. Like, you can't get around this. Humans want the visuals.
Listen, even our 4-year-old that you
ask my kids. Yeah.
4-year-old that you missed this morning, when I showed him his pirate, because I made a pirate, him standing on the ship or whatever, being
I'm pulling this up now.
Whatever he's called. So I gave it to him this morning to look at, and he took my phone and went on the bed, and he laid there and looked at it for a couple minutes with the biggest grin on his face. And I'm thinking, if a 4-year-old is into this, because he thinks he's a freaking, this was before.
This is the seed picture.
Right. Yeah, this is before. And this is after. He just sat there, I mean, with the biggest grin for a couple minutes, looking at every single detail. I can only imagine what kind of imagination was going through his head. But yes, mommy did this last night.
He can be anything. He can go anywhere, and it's right
Next
there.
thing I'm gonna do Transformers. I already figured it out what he wants. But that's gonna be fun, and like books he can build. I mean, like little kids, you can be anything, you know. I mean, there's so many ideas now that the kids can be.
Kids are going to be the main character of every book they read in the future.
This is insane. So, any kind of takeaway from this segment before we move to the next one?
I mean, just that it's everything for imagery. Like this, if you're doing anything else to create imagery, you're probably going through this tortured process. It's very expensive relative to this. Like, I have to do this now. Just for the open graph and like YouTube thumbnail generation, you know, very basic stuff. But I want to illustrate my thoughts with exciting pictures. And I've not had a real reasonable ability to do that until now. It looks like this is really close.
Okay. Listen, I'm going to skip, unless you want me to talk about.
No, I think we kill it.
The Sapiens brain inspired AI. But
the MIT study is great, though. We're going to crush this.
No. I want to talk about MIT study. But so basically, MIT study just got released, and they found out that 95% of Gen AI projects fail ROI test.
Generative AI projects.
Yeah. So, which we kind of talked about the ROI. I think we talked about last week. And so, what this project was, they analyzed 300 enterprise generative AI deployments, interviewed 150 company leaders, and surveyed 350 employees. And what did they find out? Well, big shocker. 95% of projects showed no measurable profit and loss impact. And the failure pattern is consistent. AI is bolted onto legacy workflows, producing busy work instead of business impact. And the 5% of successes come from teams that attack one sharp pain point and execute ruthlessly. So we're going to talk about the failing for a little bit, but of course, your girl over here had to go and find out what are the winning 5% did right. So we'll talk about that. But what do you think about 95%? It's not even 80.
I feel like somebody has talked about this before. Something like the great refactoring, about how all this money and energy was going to be spent on figuring out that it doesn't work.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
And then I think somebody else has mentioned this before too. The 5% attacked one sharp pain point. That sounds a lot like specificity.
Wow. Yep.
Who's talking about this?
Yep.
Anyway.
So the reason 95%, so here's what they're saying. Like,
I love that they did this study, because this makes me even more bullish on the directionality of the whole thing. Like, it needs to be 95% failing.
And I'm usually kind of like, studies or whatever. I mean, but MIT, I kind of like, okay, I gotta pay attention to what they're saying. And so here's the deal: like bolt-on chaos that bloat sites. So like the patterns were the same. 95% of AI is lipstick on the pig. Right. So what they did is they took existing systems and then they try to build something that could work or whatever.
They're shoehorning AI into what they already have.
Right. And big surprise, it didn't work. So that's what was, in common between kind of all of them. They're just building it on. And then the other problem was the adaptation, like, one thing doing this, the other one has no idea what's going on, how to use it. And so, of course, that's always going to be the problem with big corporations. But if you're not solving the problem to begin with, or you're like putting the lipstick on the pig, then that's kind of creating, this chain effect. So it creates bad workflow design. It's not because the AI fails, but they're just not being, specific on what.
Yeah. So like, if they're failing, what the heck's the problem? Why are they failing? There's two big reasons. They are attempting to shoehorn this new technology onto broken systems that are not built to receive this. And so therefore they can't. They just, what happens when you do that is you just create a new set of problems you didn't know you had. And all these problems are evidence of they're symptoms of the fact that you're broken underneath that. And then the other part about that is that, your workflows are designed around your existing systems. You like your workflow, you have to work around what you have.
Right.
And because your system sucks, your workflow sucks. And AI is merely exposing something that was like good enough, so we'll just get by with this. That's how it worked. We kicked the can down the road, and but now AI is exposing all of those flaws. Like if you want to leverage AI, you have to be working with highways built to allow it to really shine at what it does.
Yeah. So if you're still retrofitting AI into legacy stacks, you're playing catch up. So obviously we know why the 95% didn't work, billions of dollars of wasted money and the resources. And so what did actually work?
What did the 5% do right?
Yes, because that's what I care about. I'm like, I want all of us to learn from that so we don't have to make billion-dollar mistakes. So the first thing that the 5% did right was one sharp pain point ruthlessly executed. So they solved one specific pain point, back office task like document triage, and then they scaled. And then real P&L impact, some went from 0 to 20 million in revenue in a year. And so again, they just picked one problem, they solved it, and they
here's why that works. So if you take one specific problem and try to solve it, you are freed up from all the other constraints and crap in your company. You've been freed up to say, hey, solve this problem, do whatever it takes. So you're not limited or constrained by the existing systems that are broken. That is a guaranteed way to do it. Now, what you may find by doing this is that, oh crap, what we have here does work, but it doesn't really fit into everything else. Do we spin this off into a new company?
Mm-hmm.
How do we treat this new asset that we have because it doesn't fit into everything else that we have? I think there's going to be a lot of that, actually. I think we're going to see companies spin off other companies because we know this part of it can be successful. Everything else is sort of up in the air pending a great refactoring. But I think that's going to be a very interesting landscape to watch, the spin-off economy from this that is all generated by these one sharp pain points ruthlessly executed.
So that was the first one. So they didn't sprinkle AI everywhere. They picked one workflow, fixed it completely, and then just kind of kept doing it again. So it could, what could it be? It could be anything, like sales page, lead capturing, like something that you can clearly see the impact. So that's the first thing they did right. The second one was use learning capable AI native systems. Built or bought AI that could learn from context and adapt over time, not just chatbots, but agentic systems. So bought from specialized vendors, not internal Frankenstein builds. So what do you, obviously we talk about that it's a lot easier. Well, you talk about it. Because
I feel like chatbots are ways to figure out what direction you want to go. We say, okay, this is the vector we're going to choose. You use the chatbots to determine that. The agentic AIs take you down that vector path. You can make progress along that path.
Mm-hmm.
The chatbots aren't really deep in that sense. You can determine a direction, say this is probably the right way, but the agentic one says, all right, I'll be your Sherpa, your tour guide, as far down this path as I can take you. If the highways are really built far out, that Sherpa can take you all the dang way. That's not the case right now. That's what we got to get to. But that's what they're doing. They're using agentic systems, since we got to give a new parlance to everything these days. But they're doing that to get farther down those vector paths. Just knowing what the solution probably should be is only so valuable. But taking steps in that direction is valuable. And that's what they are doing.
So it was not building on top of what they already had. So
It's bought or built by specialized vendors. It is not using internal Frankenstein builds, which is the process of shoehorning stuff into your existing systems.
Yep. And the third thing that they all had in common that contributed them winning was decentralized AI adoption via frontline prosumers. So empowered frontline teams and AI tinkerers, not top-down AI teams, to build what worked. So tools matched real work, driving adoption and ROI, which is always the problem, right? So if the order comes from the top and you do it, it's like how many SaaS services were purchased by different companies, but the problem is always the adaptation. Like people don't want to use it, they don't want to deal with it, they don't want to learn something new, and so the adoption really is the killer if you don't have the buy-in from people to actually use what you built. And so that's why they came from the power users And that's what maybe they call them prosumers. Consumer with, power user. I don't know, but I'm just curious about that.
What stands out to me here is that the teams that won, the initiatives that were successful, were kind of bottom up, not top down. Another way to view this is top down is centralized. Okay, here's what we're going to do, and you guys do this. Bottom up is node based or decentralized. And it comes from, this is specifically what we want. Let's just make this happen. You're not being told what to do. You're deciding as you go exactly what you want and what the expression of this thing needs to be. All of AI output points us in that direction, a direction of greater specificity or catering directly to what nodes want. Nodes are individual people with idiosyncratic needs or wants. And anything that aligns with that solving the idiosyncrasy problem. I call this the node problem. I'm going to be referring to this in future episodes. So we've got the great refactoring. And the other thing is the node problem. And that's what AI is solving. It is saying, how do we get very specialized output for this end user? We've got billions of people, each with idiosyncratic needs. How can we serve exactly their needs? Not a generalized version of their needs, not some generalized idea, but exactly their needs. AI points us in that direction, and that is anything that aligns with that, serving exact needs, is going to win. Like, that's what is going to emerge from all of this. It's not going to be generalized, centralized stuff. Not at all.
So how would you sum up the winning formula if you want your software to be in that winning 5%?
Well, the most important thing you can do is to break free from any existing systems that are broken. Like, you have to cut the cord. You cannot go where we got to go by doing that. If you are in a company and you don't really have that choice, the best you can do is to be on a team that is empowered to break free from existing constraints and build like a little spin-off company within that company to solve specific problems. That would be like second best option, in my opinion. First best option is to build new highways and generalized software that can translate this stuff from AI and point it in any direction you want. That's the best. And then, the third thing is just to keep in mind that directionality of this whole thing. We are moving from generalized to highly specific. Yeah. If you can do that, you have a chance at a victory. If you can't do that, why are you building this? Like, what's even the point? So, because people want something for them. People power this whole thing.
Winning formula is AI native plus specific or focused plus frontline owned, and that's it. I mean, that's kind of simple. So that was interesting to kind of learn more about that. Do you have any takeaway from this?
I mean, I think it's fascinating, but it's the great refactoring. It's happening. We have data proof now of the concept, but it's for real.
Yeah, no, that was very interesting. I like anything with ROI. I'm the ROI girl, and that was really fun to read that. I think I'm gonna skip the 911 call.
Yep, skip it.
Do you want to talk about the WordCamp?
I mean, what's even the point? I'll just run through this real quick. So WordPress had WordCamp US.
It's happening, I think, right now in Portland. And
yeah,
so
it's happening in Portland.
What I did is I sort of put the agenda through some of my things that I've created to see like are we missing out on anything over there and what we need to cover, because clearly it's their big event, and WordPress still powers 60% of the internet for now. And so
this feels like news from dinosaur land.
Well, I wanted to see what's happening over there because like I want everybody to know like what's happening all around. And so did anything catch your eye?
So here's what they talked about. They talked about SEO trends and like how WordPress fits into this new SEO landscape, GEO landscape. Talked heavily about WooCommerce because that is owned by Automatic and has been the only real commerce related push from WordPress in the last decade. So they're talking about AI shopping assistants, whatever. Who hasn't heard that at this point? If you're engaged in this stuff, they promised AI assisted WordPress development and performance optimization. That, gang, is a headline. There is no rubber meets the road there at all. Who cares? And Matt Mullenweg did his Q&A, his yearly Q&A session, where he gave his take on where WordPress fits in an AI-driven web.
I think it's happening today. I don't know what happened yet.
Oh, well, that's what he's going to do. Whatever.
These sessions are
here's the deal. They got to talk about, this is a conference. It is talk. It is a press release, essentially, saying like, here's our intent. I don't care about stated intent, and no one else should either at this point. We can generate action so fast in this new landscape. You should only be looking at the action. Like Google gave us some action with the Flash image generate. Show me that. Show me what you did. I don't care about, it doesn't matter to talk about. I could talk about so many things about these directions this stuff could go with PageMotor specifically, but it's not worth it. Like, build a platform, slap some stuff on there, and show me something. Show me a site that's rolled up for real estate and really highly specialized.
Yep.
That will be something. When I have that, I will show you.
Well,
but until then, it's just not worth talking about.
No, I just so for next week,
WordPress cooked. I mean,
I will see.
I don't know if we can say that word again. It might be Voldemort from now on.
Anyway, you said that you have something to talk about before with the funding.
I kind of got it. It's really just, I really want the audience to understand that we are looking at two huge improvements that are going to change everything. One is the node problem, everything working in a much more highly specialized direction for nodes. Think businesses and people. So you're going to get exactly what you want. But then the corollary to that, like the other side of that, is you will be charged, you will pay for, and you will even receive money for exactly the actions you took. There won't be this generalized pricing where it's, $99 a year for everybody. Like, that's dying. SaaS in general, the whole trend of SaaS is going to be dead because SaaS is not specific enough. It is centralized. Everything's moving in the direction of node-specific output. And the way we get there is through that combination of this ability to price upstream and downstream, cost per action, and then to have systems that can deliver this highly precise, highly specific output that people want and need. So that's really the kind of, to me, those are the two biggest things where this movement is taking us. And then once we're there, the world is going to look a lot different. Our perception of finances in general and how this puzzle works and fits together is going to be different. Our perception of what we can get and how we can use it is going to be different because it's going to be so much more specialized. All of us who are watching this now have been used to using generalized tools in a way that's specific to us. In the future, you'll be using highly specialized tools that are exactly made for the job you're trying to do. And it's going to cross the boundaries of traditional apps. Like I described earlier, like this idea where you're doing something in New York City, you're going to have to use the train system. You're going to have to purchase tickets. You're going to have to do these other things that are disconnected activities. One's the museum, one's the trains thing, but it's all going to be wrapped up in a single thing for you through your handheld AI in the future. It's going to look like one app to do your day when really you were interfacing with quite a few different things that we would have formerly thought of as being different pieces. So that is fascinating synthesis of all this stuff. Love it.
TED Talk right here. So to wrap this up today, we're going to talk about the where did the money go this week? So AI funding is still hot, but this week data shows investors are spreading their bets across a lot of early stage experiments with just a couple of big winners leading the charge. So AI companies raised, again, this is in the whole world. I started looking at the whole world, just under 450 million this week. So that is a big dip from last week. And compared to last week, funding fell by more than half and deal count dropped by a third. So a clear cooling after a blockbuster week. I was surprised by that, but then I realized, do you know what time it is? Burning Man time.
Oh my God, that's actually really funny.
So I think a lot of investors and tech people are partying it up right now at Burning Man. So nothing's been happening.
Extremely cringe, but true also.
Well, it's just, again, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, and it's interesting and fun. So I think next week we're going to see a huge pump up. So 26 AI startups got their funding in the world. Big surprise or not surprise, US is still leading the charge with 75% of all AI funding. That is 17 companies. China follows with one big robotics deal. So they just had one deal, and that was in robotics, and the company was named MechMind. MechMind
Robotics.
Robotics. They got like $70 million, and they build AI powered factory robots.
They should have used AI to generate a better company name.
They can see and understand their environment, making warehouses and assemblies lines smarter. Very interesting. And then Europe, Asia, without China, they were very minor players this week. So again, US is leading, China is kind of second. And so the trends this week were software and infrastructure. It remains the backbone of AI funding. Generative AI still attracts steady interest for deals this week. Robotics is gaining ground with multiple funded companies. And we had even some consumer-focused AI, like restaurant and app integrations. So kind of compared to last week, industry focus shifted from enterprise SaaS and real estate to healthcare, implants, robotic automation, and workflow AI. And the biggest company that got the most money, the winner, is Restored. They use 3 for E. They got 104 million. And what they do is they use AI and 3D printing to create personalized implants for surgeries, helping doctors replace joints and bones more effectively. So do you have to say anything about that? Any kind of...
Well, the trend for me that stood out was that there was a lot more practical application. Like that use in medical stuff, it makes total sense to me. I'm surprised there wasn't focus on this kind of thing earlier on. Again, we got the shiny object thing just dominates like the big infrastructure. Oh, this will be the biggest play because everybody's relying on it. So that, that's the biggest chance of a unicorn. But I mean, I can see tons of this level of company that does 100 million to 500 million that are really good investments, probably. Like, hello, do we think we're not going to be 3D printing implant parts and for like firm pieces of the body that need to be replaced? And stuff like this, like that makes total sense. We've got AI powered factory robots. I worked in a factory for some time many years ago. Total need for this. Stuff gets moved around all the time. There's certain things that get moved around that are dangerous. Like you'd rather use robots than people for this. There's forklift routes inside some of these things. They don't really want people doing that, but there's always accidents and dumb stuff that happens. I mean, there's a lot of little things that, like, obviously companies are going to do this if you have a factory. That we've got voice agents for, you're used to the phone tree when you call up certain services, healthcare. I mean, anything these days. AI, better AI voice, phone screening, basically.
Yep.
That makes sense. Customer service and sales platforms. Obviously, you like to remove people from those jobs. I mean, the call center thing is a big deal. Like, there's a huge backlash on X right now, has been for the last couple months, about outsourcing call centers to areas outside the United States, and then we have to call and deal with these people who barely speak any English, clearly aren't empathetic, and don't care. Like, would you rather talk to a robot that's specially designed for the case than that person? Yeah,
and they pretend to care. So there you go. I know.
So, I mean, you got that. And then you've got another one that I can't believe hasn't been a bigger deal till now. I guess it sort of makes sense, but also kind of not. But another one received 25 million to automate various office workflows like scheduling, reporting, document handling, and, other compliance type things that they have people do, for the paper trail.
Yeah.
You want that to be totally digitized. It has not been to date. This makes total sense.
You talk about solving boring problems. This is what's been happening.
It is very practical AI.
Yep, practical AI. All right, well, listen, this is all the news we got for today. I want Chris to kind of spend a minute or two talking about what's happening with PageMotor. For those of you who don't know, PageMotor is how basically you're going to make all the things that we talked about kind of happen in the future. It is the highway of AI of the future. That's what Chris is kind of building, and we've got a beta right now where we've got 40 people building things, and everything we talk about is sort of like, this is how we're going to get to that vision. So Obviously, I'm in sales and I like talking about this like that because I see so much potential and I see what Chris is working on and I'm very proud of him. So tell us what happened this week. Any updates for?
Well, real quick, PageMotor is so AI generates output. You got to do something with that output for it to be meaningful. PageMotor is one place, and I think you're going to see in the future, it's going to be really a place, like very valuable place. You take the output from AI, you stick it in there, you can actually do something useful and meaningful with it and powerful. It's going to change, you can think of software for pretty much any industry. It's going to be replaced by something like PageMotor, industry-specific applications built on PageMotor using AI. That's the future. Now, where we are right now, I'm going to release beta version 0.3 next week.
Yay!
We're getting very close to the full feature set for a basic CMS. Like if you want to, so here's some stuff you can do with PageMotor right now. You can build an entire website, like hierarchically nested pages, like yoursite.com/about/me. For example, you can build that kind of thing. You can use modular content to create like an email opt-in form and display it on every page of your site, or display it here, there, or anywhere. You can choose where to deploy this kind of thing. You can manage users. You can have people who can work on your site as producers or administrators. And you can also have users who have access to front-end stuff. So like maybe you want to protect some content. You have people log into your site. Those people log in on the front end and use your site that way. You can do incredibly leveraged design stuff. So if you're used to using these tortured constructions like Tailwind CSS or other frameworks like that, PageMotor already has something called golden ratio typography, and it's very simple, very powerful design system built in. So you can do rapid design prototyping right away. It's got a template editor. You can roll out, it's the most specialized HTML you can possibly think of. It's all super, super fast and efficient. I mean, if you're used to using WordPress, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this works this way. This is crazy. There's content types, so you can have like pages for your site. You can have, like I said, modular content. You can have a plugin that adds a new content type, maybe products. Maybe I'm going to do one for my own site for documentation, so that is separate and treated separately. But so basically, it is a way for you to create any type of content and manage it. But the way the system works, it is ready to receive and use stuff from AI. So really the idea in the future is that AIs will be building the components that you need. You'll just slap them into your website and you'll be able to get these highly specific outcomes just for you. So that's kind of the whole deal there. But, this is a process. We are building the highways, and PageMotor 0.3 is nearly complete. It'll be out next week, and people are going to have all these rich new features.
And the beta is still closed. It's going to be closed for another month, right?
Before at least a month. It's now looking like late October, possibly early November.
Yep.
But what I want to have at that time is an e-commerce thing people can play with. So I'm on that road.
So we are building the future over here. And by we, I mean Chris. And so, but I'm very excited about what's going on, what's happening. So thanks to everybody for joining us. Until this is the place to be to know the latest and the greatest. We hope to see you next week, 11 o'clock.
Got somebody at the door. Somebody who's very impatient.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.
See you guys.
Bye.
All right.